What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Cedar Flags in another what's going to be kind of a shorter episode. We don't do too much in this episode. It's another one of those bite-sized builds, but in the next episode, don't worry, I already have it pre-recorded. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be huge, and we have a lot of work to do in it, so stay tuned for that if you're not into these smaller ones, but this is a, pardon the pun, a bridge episode, if you will, to that point. So yes, we are building the bridge finally here. So this is the bridge that goes over Gravity Mod's first drop, and we have to go through and do a little bit of styling because when we just put like the rails on the walkway, it doesn't look as great as it needs to look to be in Cedar Flags. So we go ahead and we start to build up this bridge. Now, if I were to go back and redo this bridge again, there are easier ways to do it. What I'm doing right now is trying to get these kind of matched up and synced up to the actual like slope of the path. It wasn't just a flat path there. Connecting the two paths together, the game kind of did some weird stuff with the like incline of it. So I just went through and I kind of matched up exactly to the segments of path, these kind of oriented shapes here. But if I were to redo this, I'd probably just make these larger and make them just straight across. So it would have been a little less aggravation, but I mean, it comes out good either way. So we're just kind of building up some of the base. I wanted this bridge to look like a big, I don't know, strong bridge, if you will. Just something that didn't look cheap, something that looked like it was going to be structurally sound, and something that's just, I think, part of the influence was when you're going down Gravity Mod, when you're dropping, you're going to get a lot of time to look at this bridge, and so it needed to look kind of grand in the scheme of things, so I think that was just what we were going for here. So I want to say that this style of building right here, it's kind of all over the place. I mean, I think originally I had thought about maybe doing like a wooden bridge, something more alpine esque, like more traditional alpine style. In the end, we just kind of came up with this. I don't even know what kind of style you would call this, like a Roman or like a Mediterranean type style, where it's just kind of stucco and plaster. But I like how this looks. I just don't think it fits into anything like stylistically around it, which could be a downfall or could be something that you guys can have a gripe over. I'm not really sure. But I think at the end, it comes out as a really nice bridge, and I think that's all that really matters. But anyway, we're just going through and putting some of these rails on, and we're going ahead and placing the side, I guess, pillars, if you want to say, supports. The color scheme on this was really annoying to get right because you can't change some of the elements of this. Like, I think the bottom runners, or whatever you want to call those, I don't think you could change the color of that. Or if you could, I didn't want to or something. But getting these pillars that we're putting down matched up with the right color was nearly impossible. I'm not going to lie. It's really weird that, like, when you click on an object and try to color it, there's that blue hue over it. They really need to fix that in this game. It's such like an obvious thing that they need to patch, but they haven't done it yet, and people keep complaining about it. But hopefully, eventually, they'll do something like that. But I actually grabbed a screenshot of this bridge, like, in the process, and tried to go into, like, Illustrator or Photoshop and just pull, like, the actual color code from a piece of the bridge. And even that didn't work. Like, when I put that in, the pillar still was too dark. So, very strange. But anyway, we're going through, and you saw me actually take a second to, I guess, calculate the spacing of these pillars. I wanted them to kind of be like symmetric or like bisect the bridge in half. And I actually went through and very tediously, I guess if that's a word, counted each rung of that railing to try to get those spaced out properly. And in the end, I think it works. It looks good. And there's things like that you have to do if you want to get a design perfectly right. And sometimes you have to just kind of guess off of something like in the background to get spacing right, but luckily we had an actual spot here to go ahead and use like that method instead to get like a way more precise placement of those. But we're going through and placing these lamps on top of these pillars now, just to give this a little bit more of a, I don't want to say purpose, but just lighting has been something that we haven't really done much of in this park all that much. So I keep saying that we got to go through and fix that, and I think in future builds we're gonna have to kind of mind that. The problem is I build in like the daytime, so I never really flip it to nighttime, and the day-night cycle's never really on in this park, so it's just kind of one of those things that I kind of forget about. But placing these street lamps were kind of annoying because it was one of those things where I have 3 objects right here, and the axes, when you select all of them, are not straight or true to the actual objects. So kind of annoying to get that done, but anyway, that is the bridge complete, and we'll be moving on here to doing a little bit more landscaping around the park. Now, well, I'd say park, but it's more just like in this general area here. So in the last episode, we actually went through and we did a lot of this kind of landscape work around the main paths of like the entrance area. We did a little bit of tweaking and stuff like that. So just filling out this little bit here was actually kind of important to, I guess, call this section complete, if you will. So yeah, we're just kind of making one of these things that I'm a huge fan of doing this, but we're making a little bit of a retainer here using these rocks and just sinking them down so they're like really small ground level rocks, but they're giving this whole area like a defined flower bed feel. And I love doing this, and you can actually, it's kind of annoying to do, but you can get a lot of different shapes out of these rocks if you just like tilt them on their axes different ways instead of just like the left right, if you will, but like turning it into like the second and third dimensions. I don't know if I explained that well at all, but I think some of you probably understood what I was just trying to go for there, so at least we got that going for us. But yeah, we're just filling out this, and again, finding that mulch and just, I guess, remembering that mulch is in the game, it just changes the whole complexion of this whole area. It's so nice. I love having this whole area like just have, I guess, flower beds, and there's just mulch in it, instead of having these whole, like, grassy areas. Now, I did want to work some of the grass into this, so when we move over across after this bed right here that we're working on, you'll actually see me try to incorporate some grass still into this whole area, so it's not all just mulch, and I feel like it could be a very slippery slope as to where we're gonna keep the mulch and the flower beds and have like grass mixed in. We could, if I got away with it, I'd probably put mulch all over the place, but I didn't want to do that too much. So I think there's just something like being mindful of that is probably something that I have to do in the future. But of course, we'll get to that when we get to that. But here's what I was saying about the mulch and the grass. We're actually using these bushes, and we've been using this throughout the park, but we're getting these set up in a interesting way where we actually have some cool like site or patterns or design elements going into this area. So it's not just a linear thing. It's more of a free-flowing kind of feel over here. So we have the mulch on one side and the grass on the other. And yeah, I think we're getting close to the end here, but we're just putting a couple of these bushes in just to kind of fill some of this negative space in these flower beds. But guys, I think that's about it for this short time lapse. Let's go ahead and kick it to the live portion where we can get a closer look at this. All right, guys, so we are back live in Cedar Flags, and we are looking at the bridge we just made. So that was really cool, I think. But yeah, we built this in the time lapse, and like I was saying, it's kind of a weird style in that it doesn't really fit much of anything, although I guess if you're looking at it, it kind of fits with this building style a little bit over here. So at least it's not like completely absurd, like over the top bright red or something like that, but it's a fairly simple build, and it was actually pretty easy to do. Like I said, I think I overcomplicated it at parts, but in the end, I think it came out really, really nice, and it'll serve the purpose of being a bridge, I guess. So at least we got that going for us. Actually, I haven't seen this at night yet, I don't think. So let's go ahead and flip this over to nighttime. And, oh, wow, actually, this is actually kind of cool. So I think these are actual, or not these right here are lights. And if I just pull this up, I think it might be influencing a little bit. Yeah, so even though these lights are sunk into the pillars, they're actually adding a little bit of light over here, so this whole bridge is lit up really well, so I really like that now. I didn't even really plan on that. The only reason I put it in there was to keep the cap, or have the cap be like a different little anchor point onto the other round section here, so yeah, that's that. But like I was saying, we need to do something about lighting, I think, around other areas of the park, especially like over here has got pretty dark. Over here doesn't really have anything. We should probably take an episode to just do that. We might do something like that soon. I'm not really sure. But yeah, let's flip this back over to the AM so we can see what we're talking about. But yeah, I really, really, really like how this whole section of the park came out, even though people are littering over here. We should probably put some trash cans in here, but we'll get to that eventually, I guess. But yeah, this whole place is pretty much complete now. We have these nice little flower beds, and just the nature around here incorporating all of this really works well with the way that we have everything set up underneath Gravity Mod. It looks so good. So all these rocks kind of continue around here, and all of these plants are just kind of containing these pillars or these supports for the coaster. And it's so good. I love it so much. I can't get enough of this game right now. It's such a good game. I've just been falling in love deeply with this whole Cedar Flags park. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen next. And actually, as I say that, I know what's going to happen next. And you guys are probably going to love what we do on this other side of this bridge. So guys, if you like this episode, leave a thumbs up. If you dislike this episode, thumbs down it. And I guess that's it. Leave your guesses as to what we're going to put in over across the bridge in the comments. And until then, guys, I will see you back here in Cedar Flags.